Hello! You are listening to Talking Utter Slot, the podcast that thinks toy cars are like life. Best enjoyed if you don't take it too seriously. Welcome to episode 12 of Talking Utter Slot. I'm Scott Brownlee. Joining me is my co-host, the man of many aliases. Some know him as Peter, some know him as Wankalix, and we know him simply as
Pedro.
In this episode, Pedro and I are going to discuss, argue about, and try to justify the cars we'd make if we ran our own slot car company.
Why are we doing that, Scott?
Well, that's because we're celebrating a birthday in coming days. Each, not the same one. Well, I'll celebrate yours, you can celebrate, but you know what I mean. We've got birthdays coming up, yeah. And
if you tell me when yours is, I'll celebrate.
Thank you very much. The reason that sparked this thought is that you would think, being lifelong slot car fans, friends and relatives would get us slot cars. And sometimes they do, but most times they say, oh, I never know what to get you. And we think, well, a slot car. And they say, yeah, but you've got so many, we don't know what you haven't got. Anyway, that led to us thinking, what we haven't got is what we'd really like, and the only way to get it is if we ran our own slot car company. So, we've come up with a short list of cars that we'd make. By definition, these are cars we'd most like to unwrap on our special day. We'll not be bound by practicalities like budgets, production schedules, or demands from dealers. These are the cars we want to have. We'll have 3 or 4 suggestions each, so settle back, let your credit card rest easy, because none of these exist to actually buy. And let's start with Pedro.
This happens every time, doesn't it? I didn't realise I was supposed to nail down specific models. I think I probably can, but I'm going to be very generic. And I'm simply going to say my slot car company would take Le Mans 1994, maybe 1995 as its theme, and I would work through the grid, dropping the ones that I don't like, because there's a fair few of those actually. But I would be 1995 GTs. I think this is peak Le Mans, and I know some of them have already been done. Many of them have already been done, really. I'm thinking about Venturis, which I think are a great shape.
Venturi.
I think the Fly one. Venturi.
Venturi.
Venturi. Oh, très belle. Is that right? No, très joli, le Venturi. Apologies to the French listener. Do we have a French listener?
We do. Well, we did.
Yeah. Apologies. Venturi, I've got quite a few of those. I may have mentioned before, there's a few cars that I will probably never put in the eBay pile. And quite a few of them, curiously, are Fly cars. Fly Marcuses, Fly BMW M1s, and Fly Venturi. Is the plural of Venturi? Venturi. I've got quite a few of them, and I like them, but I think they're probably too small. I assume they're not really 1/32, and I would certainly make some of those to go with things that have already been done by other people, like the McLaren F1 GTR, which is a gorgeous machine.
Okay.
So that's me starting off.
You started off with a Venturi. Now, if you had to plump for a launch livery, it's quite a good choice, because there was a number when they ran for quite a while. There's a lot of liveries.
Well, you see, this is the thing. I'm not taking this. I'm not looking at this flippantly. I'm taking this seriously. If I'm running a business, then I need to work those molds. And I have a fallback, which I mentioned in the pre-show chatette. A fallback of cash cows, Beamers, and I don't like Beamers. But the Venturi, rather like for Fly, it was a good money spinner, I think. I don't honestly know which livery I would go for first. Probably just that silver one. There was a dull silver one that ran at Le Mans. Go with that one.
Okay. I remember when I first encountered a Fly Venturi, and it was in a Skeletric shop in Barcelona. And this was pre-internet days. Palau, it was called. Absolute fantastic. It's now closed, I believe. They had a piece of track screwed somehow or other on the underside of a big wooden shelf, and the car was running round upside down. So strong was the magnet. We all thought the magnet in the Viper, which was the first Fly car, was amazing. But the Venturi made that look some sort of pathetic weakling. So this thing was whizzing round on a tiny little track upside down. There you go.
Are you sure it wasn't the pure aerodynamics that were meaning that it could run upside down?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Anyway, shall I give you one of mine now?
No, I'm not.
You're not interested, okay? The listener might be though. I'm going to stick with the Le Mans theme because I think we both love Le Mans. I think slot car fans like Le Mans in general, judging by the number of Le Mans cars that get made, anyway. And it's a WM Peugeot, the P82 to be specific, which ran, funnily enough, in the early 1980s. In fact, it ran for 3 or 4 years. And it's just the prettiest little thing. It sort of predated Group C, but it ran as a Group C car. And for those who don't know, WM were a tiny works supported, as in Peugeot gave them some engines, and one of the two guys who founded it, the W, who actually worked at Peugeot. He was the styling director, so that might explain why this car was very pretty. It had enclosed rear wheels. It was beautifully rounded. It was just gorgeous, and it was quite quick. And I think 1 year they were running second or something. I don't think they ever succeeded particularly with it. They're more famous later for the P88 car, which had much longer, more enclosed bodywork, which was the final year before they put the chicanes in on the long straight, on the Mulsanne. And midway through the race, they taped off all the radiator ducts and everything, cranked everything up, and flew down the straight at a record speed of 400 and I think it was technically 407 kilometres per hour. But for
in old money, what's that in old
money? It's 250 something. I don't know. Yeah. But the reason they wanted to get to that was to tie in with 405, so Peugeot got some marketing mileage out of it. But of course, the car or the engine did not enjoy doing 400 kilometres an hour with no cooling, and I think that was early in the evening. Anyway, WM, lovely, proper spirit of Le Mans to my mind. So a bunch of, I call them happy amateurs. That's probably doing them a huge disservice. They were obviously highly professional in the cars that they built and ran, but they weren't a works team, and they were committed to building their own car for Le Mans, and I love that.
But so when I say I would like to do the 95 grid, dropping out the dull ones, I'm pretty sure that a WM ran it in 94, 95, and I would call it one of the dull ones.
Yeah, but
it looked like a soap dish, didn't it?
Yeah, by that time they had run a sort of single place, sort of sit in the middle, one make car that they were building to run, and I think a couple of those entered the main race.
And were they not in a class that was nobody else contested? So basically, as long as they finished, they were guaranteed.
They were
one of those Le Mans stories.
Friends of the ACO, and I think I think that's again one of the parts of the charm of Le Mans and its history is that people who commit to the race, particularly if they're French, they'll usually find a way of giving in the old days. So that's it. So yes, so the
outrageous
WM Peugeot P82.
Yeah, I would like to say very nice, but I don't like them. I'm not a big fan of open top cars.
It's not an open top car, it's a closed coupe.
Okay, but that's not my point. I didn't realise that. I'm talking about the 95 one. Sorry.
Okay, the 95.
I'm really intrigued now as to what that thing looks like. Obviously, for the YouTube viewer, we'll stick a picture up or try and find one. Or I'll do a sketch. How about that?
Let's do
of what I think it.
Let's do
like.
both, because I think that would be very illuminating and entertaining.
The other reason for doing 95, I'm going to keep saying it. I think 95 was the strongest, most honest Le Mans grid, or the last of the honest Le Mans grids, because the GT1 class supposedly road-going cars was contested by the likes of McLaren, by the likes of Honda, NSX, GT1, beautiful machine. I would love one of those as a slot car. I believe Cartrix did one back in the mist of times, or Cartronic, or somebody with car in the name. Cartrix, and I had one, and it was truly woeful. And also McLaren, Honda, Nissan, Skyline. R33 GTR LM.
It,
Keep the dream alive. There were 2 liveries. That's an awesome car. It's a proper. We've taken a car. We've stuck a load of body bits on it, like sills and wings and dams and things, and we don't know if it will make any difference. But bloody hell, it looks good.
and so you would make one of those, would you? You would.
I would definitely make one, even though I have said that you need to bankroll this company and you need to get cash cows. There will be certain vanity projects.
Uh-huh.
And the 33LM, I assume I could probably rework it to make some of the Japanese Grand Touring Car Championship cars, possibly. They were surely based. Well, they were 33. There were several that were 33s. Whether they were the LM ones, I'm not sure. But that would be a vanity one. I would take the hit on the bottom line just to produce that in a decent form with a floating pod, and you can make it sidewinder, angle winder, whatever winder you want. I'm not talking toys. Earlier, I accused you in preamble before we started recording that you, sir, were going to be making toys, whereas I would be making model racing cars.
And you said that, or you made that accusation from a certain higher moral standpoint. You assumed.
Oh yeah, I'm always up there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, moral high ground is my home.
Well, we can argue about that later. Let's see.
Why did I accuse you of that though? You were going to, because you want to make. What do you want to make, Scott?
Well, one of the categories I suggested was that we have a kind of movie car, funny car, oddball thing. What would you do to the Lady Penelope moon buggy class? What sort of oddball thing? And you poo-pooed that suggestion.
We won't have any truck with it.
Indeed. So no, not trucks. We're not doing trucks. Although
what about vans?
A van.
Transit. Give you some transits.
No. There's enough vans in the world. Okay. So you've got a Nissan. You want to make a Nissan, a slightly ugly, slow Nissan.
Whoa! She is so ugly. She's gone round the other side of the scale and become nice-ish.
Nice-ish. Okay.
I take your point. They are a funny-looking beast, and an R32 is definitely a more attractive proposition. But I don't. Ooh, did an R32 ever run at Le Mans? Even in pre-testing.
Well, this is where your research department, it's an excuse to visit.
Because what I can tell you, as another vanity project, there was in '95 someone tried to run, bless their heart, a DB7.
Oh yes, I remember. It was the same team that had previously or would come to run the Bugatti EB 110.
Bugatti, yeah. Monte Carlo splattered on the
They
side. I wouldn't make that one though. The Bugatti or the DB7.
Actually, given your normal sort of, I don't like that. We should have had all the list of all the cars you wouldn't make. I'm not making that. Okay,
don't be so stupid. I wouldn't make that. I wouldn't make the DB7.
Okay, that's sort of informative. Shall I tell you my next one? Are you going to? You're not.
Oh,
I can guarantee you are not going to want one, but I think a huge swathe of the listeners will be with me on this one.
A huge swathe of the what?
A huge swathe. Don't get me to see it again. It's difficult enough. A number of people will get it. I would like to see a TR7 V8.
Oh, you put that on
a rally car. And the reason you see, I'm big into rallying, and particularly rally slot cars, and I know it leaves you dead, but I think
current rallying leaves me dead. Old school rallying leaves me live and kicking.
Oh, okay.
I did not know that anyone tried to pedal a TR7 V8 particularly fast. Don't tell me it was Tony Pond.
Of course, and Per Eklund.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, of course.
Oh man. So we'll let you finish in a minute, but I have to interrupt you, as is my want. Driver number 8 on Slot Forum sent me a picture the other day when he was referencing in a conversation that he was finishing off his TR7 and he was going to put a tash on the driver. And I said, that's a bit unfair to put a tash on Joanna Lumley. I'm sure she has one now, but back in the day when she drove a TR7, I'm sure she didn't have a moustache. And so he sent me through a photo of Tony Pond with a tremendous tash. proper Magnum PI Tash, and one of those anoraks that was sponsors loved in the 70s, which you've probably got a whole wardrobe full of.
What, the sort of nylon ones that would catch fire at the meatists?
I'd say it was stand away from Naked Flames for sure. With the tash as well.
I'm sort of hesitating because it's becoming a sort of sad cliche, but I worked with Tony Pond.
That's 3 episodes in a row, Scott. The hat trick. Boom.
It's not really surprising since I was the motorsport press officer at Austin Rover. But anyway, a lovely bloke, incredibly fast in a car, but a real nice man. Yes, I wouldn't go any further than that. I can say nothing bad about him. I wish he was still here.
Would you be comfortable, since you worked with him? Were you comfortable getting in a car, say to, I don't know, go to a business meeting somewhere with Tony? Would you have happily sat in the passenger seat beside him on the roads? Normal roads, not a closed stage.
I would have.
I.e., was he a maniac behind the wheel?
I was never in the passenger seat with him on the road, actually, so I can't tell you what he drove like. I think I would have been fine. Yeah, I mean, I think there's.
I heard a story related to my wedding. Bizarrely, we'd hired a car, and the guy had a contract with TWR. Was it TWR? Maybe it was Arrows then, over in Enstone. No, over in Leafield, and he said to me, "Oh yeah, we've had I've driven Ricardo Zonta in this car." And I was super impressed, and my new wife was like, "Oh God," but he told a tale of how Ricardo Zonta was bored one day being ferried around somewhere, and said he wanted to drive the car, and his manager, who was in there with him, said, "Absolutely not. I will never get in a car. I will never be in a car that is driven by my client here, Mr. Zonta, the racing driver. I don't want to be in a car with him that he drives, because he will drive it too fast." And I thought that was amusing.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a reputation for being that way. I mean, I used to passenger with some motoring journalists on car launches. I won't name any names, but there's one who's a good friend who was very good. They're mostly good drivers, let me put it that way. He was a very good driver, still is, I imagine. And I learned to sort of relax on the basis that on any sensible level, I thought I was going to die. But actually, I figured he didn't have a suicide wish, and therefore we were probably going to be fine. And we were fine. So, and the trick was to relax. But no, we'll talk about passenger rides another time. Getting back to my TR7, TR7 V8. Apart from the fact that it would help complete a trilogy of Austin Rover BL cars for me, because thanks to my friends down in Margate, Scalextric, we've got a decent 6R4 at long last. Took 30 odd years, but we've got a decent 6R4. We've recently got a decent TWR Rover Vitesse, and I'm looking forward to lots of liveries and rally cars. Hint, hint.
I have a story about the TWR Vitesse, but we'll get back. Let's make this all about you, Scott.
Anyway, the TR7 V8, which was the works car for a number of years before the Rovers, etc. Great liveries, so those white ones with Union Jacks on the side, sponsored by British Airways, red ones. There was a Golden Wonder one, which was run up in Scotland. So
what, a TR7 with Gold Wonder?
Yeah. So lots of great drivers. Pondy is mentioned, and Per Eklund. So lots of opportunity for livery. So a TR7 V8, and I think, and I know because I look at these things, we've got a lot of listeners down in Abergavenny, where there's there's a couple of great slot car rallies still go on down there, and I'm sure the guys down in Abergavenny would snap up any limited edition TR7 V8 slot model that I or anybody would care to make.
When you say there's a few people down in Abergavenny, so you're pinning your hopes on selling about 30 of these cars?
No.
They have to have global reach.
Well,
Scott.
I think
a Honda NSX GT1 has global reach. It would particularly tickle the taste buds of Japan, I suspect.
Well, you say that, but then Cartrix made one and they went bust, didn't they? So I mean, I think that's just saying. Rally cars, we need both we as slot car makers, imaginary, and podcast makers in actuality, need to break into the Spanish market. So the rally car is the way to do that.
That is, if you want the Spanish market, I agree with you. the Spanish seem to be mad for it, as they say. But I wonder how much of that is beyond Carlos. Who have they got? There was a Jesus guy as well, wasn't there? I can't remember his surname.
Do you mean he was very religious, or he was called he was called Jesus?
He was actually Jesus, but obviously to me that's Jesus. Yeah, I'm still intrigued. You presumably will be able to dig up some photos of a TR7 in Golden 1 delivery.
I'm sure I will. Yeah.
And it was a V8.
They started off just as the normal one, and then it became the V8. They homologated that, and that's.
But I assume that's quite nose heavy.
No, because the V8 engine was lighter than the 6-cylinder block.
Truly? Wow. Okay.
Made a marvellous noise.
I'm sure it did.
I think that, I mean, in some ways you look at it and you go, okay, front engine Stratos, got to be good, but obviously it wasn't as light as that. And I think Pondy did.
Sorry. Whoa, right there. You are trying to compare a Lancia Stratos, is that Pininfarina design, with a Triumph, ironic name, TR7.
Yes. And I will.
Okay. Let's just let that settle.
I'll fight.
See what the listener thinks.
I'll fight you to the death on that one. Anyway, what have you got, Nick?
I agree with you that. I think I agree with you. I'm not sure what you're saying, but I agree with you that the TR7 is a much maligned shape. I love the TR7. I had a 1/24th TR7. I don't know who made it. Monogram Revel, somebody. And it was one of my favouriteest plastic kits for a long time until my XJS came along.
Okay.
I like the shape of it. I think it was ahead of its time, and I would love to see a Resto mod TR7. Now there's a thing. There's an idea for the Resto mod brigade.
There probably is.
Singer.
Yes, imagine
a Singer TR7
in a parallel universe where
yeah,
we had a hugely profitable. Anyway,
anywho, I need to get back to my Vitesse story because. For a long time on my YouTube watch later list, I've had this thing of the title is something like Tom Walkinshaw gives a guided tour of the TWR factory, and it's been in there a long time, and I finally got around to watching it 2 days ago, and I was thinking it would be him in Leafield, but lo and behold, it's him in Kidlington. I never knew he was in Kidlington with his outfit there. So cut to a scene of Tom driving his Jag through an industrial park in Kidlington, and he pulls up outside a gaff and gets out, parks his car and goes in. And I'm thinking, I know that place. I know that gaff. My mate Nobby works there. And lo and behold, I'm going to get the name wrong. Hopefully Nobby doesn't listen to this, but Electroniques, something or other. They're in the business of converting classics into EVs. He's operating out of TWR's old workshops in Kidlington, and they've barely changed. That's one interesting part of the story. The second interesting part of the story is, as Thomas gives the guided tour, there were 3 Bastoses in a row looking very peachy indeed. So that's my little anecdote about Tom Walkinshaw, Bastos, and my mate Nobby.
That's fantastic. Will you put a link to this video in the show notes?
Oh God, I'll have to make a note to do that then. Yeah. Okay. Bastos Tom.
Bastos Tom. I'd like to see that. It doesn't ring a bell. I mean, Kidlington was where I remember them being, but that was my era.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. They also had the Group C's there.
Indeed, the Jags, the Rovers. All the good stuff came out of there.
Yeah, it was a lot of good stuff. And he had on the left hand side was a line of Bastos. And on the right-hand side was it Computer Vision, the rally
car,
SD1.
Yeah.
Yes, I didn't realise he was doing those.
Oh yes, there they were.
He had his finger in a lot of pies.
Let's not go there because, as you've said before, we don't have a lawyer.
Anywho, what would your next car be, Scott?
Oh, I thought
for your toy company.
Is it me again? I thought you haven't had one from you. Well, my last one.
Well, I'm thinking about
my last one. While you think about another one, other than a '95 Le Mans car. My last one is actually rooted in childhood memory, and it is a Ferrari 312 F166, I believe is the full designation. Basically, it was the first V12 Ferrari of the kind of 3-litre era, so a car which would be compatible with the Lotus 49 and the Gurney Eagle. And the reason it's a childhood memory is I have very, very clear and fond memories of something that we would be given, and it must have been sweets or something. And it had a very simple plastic kit of a Formula One car. So like a top, a bottom, stuck some wheels on the side. But it was surprisingly accurate in as much as it had tread on the tyres and the detail in this car. And it was that Ferrari. And I've never been able to find it since. Any listener who knows what I'm talking about, let me know, because that would be a childhood dream come true. But that shape of Ferrari, so still, I know you hate the cigar-shaped Formula One cars.
I do.
But I think that 66, 67, when they started to get big fat tyres, but no wings, no sponsors, they just looked beautiful. I'd like one of those. And of course, there's a market for it because the Hornby or Scalextric, I should say, did the Lotus and the Eagle and the Brabham, etc. So it would fit right in. So that would be.
But have you noticed how they haven't continued with that line, though, Scott?
Yes, I don't know why not though. I would have thought, it's again.
I'm going to put it out there that I don't think I don't know how many they made, but I don't think they were as successful as people would like to think.
Well, that's maybe true, and of course, success criteria are different for different companies. I think it's
and my opinion on that comes from a bias of I don't like it.
Well, that covers most. I think it's interesting if you look at take Slotted, who are making remaking cars that they've made before, if I can put it that way. They don't just say, we've made this mould and we're going to do 6 or 7 of them and then that's it, you'll never see it again. They continually revisit, they update, etc. So, they're still going. I don't really... And Scalextrics do it to some extent. I mean, how many Mustangs and Camaros have we had? It must be a success. So I find it odd that some things do and don't, and yes, it may be that they're not that popular, but I think there's a really good argument for revisiting that 60s stuff because the demographic of the buyer, i.e. us, 50-something blokes, are probably more likely to buy it now than we were 20 years ago.
But hang on, if you're a 50-something bloke, the 60s F1 isn't your era. 70s F1 is your era. So if you were in the 70s looking at 60s car, you were looking backwards.
True. I don't know. This is why I don't work as a product planner for a real slot car company. But I would make my slot car company. Scott's Slot Cars would make a Ferrari 312.
You keep calling it Scott's Slot Cars.
That's easy for you to say.
I'm going to maintain. You're making toy cars. I'm making accurate scale racing replicas.
Is that what the name of the company is? Accurate Scale Racing Replicas.
Well, as long as that isn't a swear word in acronym form, then yeah.
It's very nearly. It's very nearly.
Is it? What did I say? Accurate? It's nearly ass, isn't it? This ass car. That's amusing.
Anyway, you're next. What next? What are you going to make? What are you going to close off and win the game with? What are you going to launch?
Well, I did say, I've probably said it too soon. In order to finance my grid of 95, I need to have a cash cow and the BMW E30 shape. I do like the Scalextric one, but I do know that they run badly, so I haven't purchased one. The Tic Tac livery in particular just speaks to me. I would love to see one of those. Oh, you're shaking your head. For the benefit of the podcast, he was shaking his head.
Well, it's just you said they run badly. I have 3 or 4 of them, and they run beautifully.
Truly? What, with magnets?
No, I take the magnet. Wash your mouth out.
What do you accuse me of, sir?
Hi, sir.
Cut pistols at dawn, sir.
Pistols. I'll hurl all my magnets at you. No, I again, this is the perennial debate. What qualifies a... I take the magnet out, I put it on the track, I drive it, it slides through the corners very controllably, it's beautifully... Is it the fastest thing on the track? No. Do I enjoy doing lap after lap with it? Yes. What more do you want?
Well, the only thing I would say is you have polycar track. It is flat. It is permanently set up, and so it's smooth. Whereas I'm racing on a 10-year-old plus Ninko, which is as bouncy as feck, and as a consequence, I would be 99.9% certain a Scalextric E30 Tic Tac would spend most of its time on its lid in all of the corners.
Okay.
Sadly.
Okay.
So my company would make one of those, and then you've just got, it's a license to print money. How many repaints are there of that thing? Endless. And to go with it, a 635 again, endless repaints, and that shark-nosed beast is just a joy to behold. And I don't like Beamers, but I will take. When I give Simon his £3 back, I'm going to give him grief about they've got to put together a 635 to run alongside that SD1. Because the Spirit one, I've got a Spirit one, and it's nice. I don't believe it's 132nd, and I've had to go. Oh, and I quiver to say it, but I've had to go the 3D chassis route with it. Oh, I feel grubby and dirty now.
You're not tempted to buy an Avant slot one?
I was sore tempted. Until I saw the price of them. I mean, Marlboro livery, come on. Peachy or what? But there's two things with that: the price and knowing that the underpinnings are Avant slot. Actually, I say knowing that the underpinnings. I assume it's got their slightly odd pod thing, which is kind of hinged at one end rather than screwed.
I think that whatever your slot car company is called, I think you should brand name your motor mount as the slightly odd pod. I think.
It would be so tempting to be so flippant with all of it. To be honest,
I think talking down the club saying, "Have you fitted your SOP? It's your slightly odd pod." Well, I think great choices of mass market cars. You could make circuit cars. You could make rally car. I mean, it's great choice.
Yeah, the E30. I'm sure Mr. Fly is basically eating out on the profits of the E30 every day of the week, because that and his 911 shells must just be constant earners, and that's top marks. I'd go for one of those. Perversely, my final one that wouldn't be. This is my 2024 catalogue. My final one for the 2024 catalogue would be another one that I will badger Simon to produce, which he never will, bless him. But a 240T.
Oh, the Volvo estate.
The Volvo. No. Oh, the 240 before they made an estate. That wasn't the one I'm thinking of. Had Nordica down the side and was very boxy and was just a joy.
The one that
in a weird way, it was a joy.
The one that SCX made as SRS2.
No, they made. Did they make? I don't know. It was an SRS, whatever. No, they made the 850.
I'm not really. They made them.
I'm going pre that. I'm going pre that shell. Slightly more boxy, 240T. I think there's probably just a scant handful of decent liveries in it. But
you think there's a Scandinavian gap in the slot car market?
I think there's 30 people in Scandinavia who would buy at least two.
Well, I tell you, you've inspired me. The follow-up to my TR7 V8 would...
Yeah, that's got to have a running mate.
Yeah, well, not necessarily a running mate, but I think a Saab 99.
Saab 99.
I mean, 99. What was the Saab rally car? That was the very sort of beetle-shaped...
What, the really old one?
The teardrop-shaped one, yeah.
Yeah, I've no idea.
96.
Hang on. This is making...
Terrible. It's terrible, isn't it?
What, didn't Sterling Moss's
sister she
ran one of those?
Possibly because she married Eric Carlson. So
there you go.
No.
Yeah. Again, the part of the thing with not liking the cigar F1s, the like 1500 cc's, whatever they were that you were talking about earlier. Part of the reason that I don't enjoy them so much, part of the reason I wouldn't enjoy a Saab so much, is that it doesn't have a livery. Just as a paint job, not a full livery.
Yeah,
and I like a bit of sponsored decal.
Well, yes and no. I think there's something done well. Caveat: done well. There's something really attractive about a kind of 50s, 60s car, and I think hats off to Scalextric. They do their retro cars beautifully. So I think I'm excited
by that Jag that's coming.
Well,
I know. I think you're complaining. Someone's complaining that it'll have Goodwood liveries, and that's not real. But I'll take one of those.
yeah, I'm sort of, yeah, I'd rather have the real livery, as it were, rather than the modern one. But that's just me.
But the real livery won't have as many stickers on it. Will it?
Exactly, it'll be better.
It'll be purer.
It'll be
in your eyes.
purer, better. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I mean, let's face it, someone is only racing the replica because of how good the original was. It's not the other way round.
How could it be the other way?
Exactly. So, next week.
But you. Okay, well, next week, what are we doing next
Time
week?
machine.
Oh.
Excuse me.
So the reason I was saying your company is a toy company is because you, in the discussion notes, were also saying about buildings. What buildings are you going to make? To which I was saying, don't be distracted. Just make decent model cars.
Well,
And what track? You were talking about making a track. There's enough track systems out there.
there are track systems, but the track systems don't necessarily have all the specialist pieces you'd like. For example, the old, and I mean really old, the rubber track paddock piece for Skeletrics, where the cars are parked at sort of 90 degrees and they run out onto the track and there's a little cover over.
Yeah.
I would imagine a modernised, now, a Goodwood version of that now, with a little wooden, that would be lovely.
But that's a Le Mans start type thing, is it?
Kind of, but it's, yeah, but I don't think it ever got made beyond. I think when the Le Mans start, they did a version of the Le Mans start which they called a paddock, wasn't it? But it was just the Le Mans start with a fence round it. But pre that, this one has a separate one that had like Y pieces. The rails came out, so the car turned from 90 degrees, drove onto the track, and drove away. Beautiful. I'd love one of those. It's modelling, it's play value. I get all of that, but that's what it's all about. So you haven't been to my track yet. So as well as my track,
Nope.
there's a reasonably full.
Not been invited.
You have been. Oh! There's a run of about 10 Carrera garages in front of Fly Pit Lane and Fly Pit Wall, next to my polycar tracks. Very multi-system in my place. And on the far side of the circuit, there's a run of the traditional Skeletrics pit buildings. So I love a building, and I've got the. I
love a building.
I love a building.
Me, I love a cheese ball and a building.
I love it. I mean, I've even got a nightclub on my set. A friend made me
Really?
A friend visited and made me a nightclub out of they converted a Skeletrics control tower, and it's a
Wow.
based on a New York nightclub, and it's even got a glitter ball. And I was so excited, and I went down to Gauge Master, who do a lot of model railway stuff. And one of the things I bought and wired up is a disco light system, which is battery powered. So inside my disco, I have a disco light system.
Did you, jumping around a little bit the way I am wont to do, you sent me, perhaps we'll link to it, a fantastic nearly half-hour video, French video of Le Mans from
74.
Thank you. Did you see the brief clip of the stripper vans?
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's
There's a baby giggle.
there's about a day or so ago, I found an earlier one, which is Le Mans 1968, which has been restored by the same people, and it's a really interesting watch in and of its own right. But the contrast. 68, the circuit still had grass banks and hay bales.
And I was going to tell you this. Watching it, because I've only been twice, and I recognised various parts, but I just thought, holy cow! How many years have passed? The landscape has changed. It's quite extraordinary.
Yeah, no,
And when I say the landscape, the manscape has changed as well, because there was quite a few tashes and sideburns. That's just the mechanics. The crowd were amazing.
It's these again, listeners. So look, YouTube search for your friends. So
I'll try and put a link.
Yeah, restored Le Mans 1968, 1974. I'm sure you'll find them, and it's great to see the cars on the circuit. But as much as anything, and the joy of them is the paddock and the crowd shots,
the ambience. Yeah.
It's lovely stuff.
It's fantastic stuff. And there was a lot in the one you shared with me. There's a lot from the Goodyear airship. Because I was watching it initially thinking, oh wow, drones.
No, not then. Not then.
No.
So, if we made out of all of those things that you've suggested, if I was going to buy you one for your birthday, if I could, if for some magic, I could take one of your own things, which would you like?
Are you talking about my car suggestions?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a real toughie, because I would love back in the technical centre at the rear of my house. I've got a R33 kit that's been waiting many years to be built. I would love a Sky. I don't know quite what it is about Skylines. I do prefer the 32, but the 33 is the one that I know raced at Le Mans, and I would love one of those. But then Honda NSX, those are fantastic. The red Kenwood liveried ones. Mm-hmm.
You got to pick one.
But if you're going to make me choose,
I'm going to make you choose.
For the sake of being awkward, I'm going to take a Volvo 240T. Nordica livery.
Okay, fair enough. Well, consider that when you wake up on your birthday morning.
You're going to do that?
I'm going to get you one of those. I'm slightly worried that you referred to your shed as a technical centre, though. That's
Yeah, it's the Oxford Technical. What do I call it? The Oxford Technical Centre for Excellence and Speed. It's my shed.
Excellent.
Yeah, as you walk towards it, you go past a pond, which is the cooling system for the fans that run in there.
I know.
It's a reference to Woking and the McLaren Technical.
Oh, I
Centre.
see.
God, Scott.
Sorry, I thought you would just.
Ugh.
I thought you were having one of those moments, senior ones.
One of those moments in my life. So your list. If I've got to make you something, apparently that's the way we do this tit for tat exchange thing. If I'm getting a Volvo 240T Nordica livery, what are you getting?
TR7 V8. 20 pond.
I think that's actually not a bad call.
Yeah.
I could go with that. What kind of hubs did they have on those?
Mini lights.
Oh, really?
Or
That's
kind of
disappointing.
looked like mini lights from memory. Yeah.
Okay. I'll see what I can do.
Great noise.
Over the weekend.
Great noise. It's the thought that counts, Peter.
Okay. So tell me, Scott, in the dying embers of this podcast, what caught your eye? Has anything caught your eye? There must be something else.
This week, well, I was amazed. There was suddenly yesterday announced by Scalextric not one, but two new rally. No, well, not rally. One's a road car. Escorts. A Mark 1 and a Mark 2, yeah. So the
What do you mean? Oh, you mean new liveries?
new liveries? No, yes, that kind of escort, Peter. The
I didn't think that. Oh, smutty.
No. A Mark 1 road car I'm going to describe it as baby blue, which is the new club car. So if you sign up to Scalextric's club, that's the car.
Saw that on the gram.
Yeah.
I saw that on the gram. Yeah.
And a Mark II Rothmans, but not the what I would call famous, nice Rothmans livery, the earlier Rothmans livery, which is a sort of insipid yellow and only a little bit of blue.
So is that a rally?
It's
circuit or a rally?
It's a rally car.
Okay.
But seeing both of them inspired me to go and dig out. I got last year's club car, which I think was actually the year before's club car. It just took so long to get here because of something. The black Rally Escort Shell-sponsored one. So it arrived a few months ago, and I'd never really done anything with it. So I got that out of the box and did a few laps just to celebrate. And I convinced myself that I didn't need to buy the Rothmans one. So that's what.
So you won't buy the Rothmans one?
Every new car that gets announced, I'm tempted by. And
I am.
So,
almost everyone
yeah.
I'm sore tempted by. And then because there's sufficient time passes between the announcement and the release, by the time the release has come, one, something else will have caught my magpie eye, and two, I've just thought about it a bit more and thought, oh yeah, no, maybe I don't need one. I had an SCX Escort.
I have several. You won't be surprised to know.
Big shock. I didn't really warm to it. Skinny wee tyres, bit top heavy.
Slides about. Great.
No, it didn't slide about. It rolled about.
So, classic rally driving, sort of slow in, get the tail going, keep the power on, slide out.
Scandi flicks.
Scandi flicks, yeah, all that good stuff.
And what was it? Oh, sisu. You need the sisu attitude as well, apparently.
Is that some sort of pot noodle?
No, it's what the Finnish people have. Or
Blonde,
what nationality?
blonde hair.
What nationality was Hakkinen? Was he Finnish?
Finnish.
Yeah, sisu is a Finnish thing, and I don't know what it means.
Okay, probably means
But he
pot
tried to
pot noodle.
he tried to instill some sisu in James May when he was trying to teach him the Scandi flick.
Oh, right.
And I probably discovered that it actually wasn't James May, but Jeremy Clarkson or something like that. I don't think it was. Whatever. Anything else caught your eye, Scott?
No, that was it this week. I was surprised though because these came out of nowhere. Even given that their range announcement is only 2 months ago, there was no.
But I like that.
Yeah.
I like a range announcement. That's always good. Gives you something to get giddy about. But I like the idea that right out of left field they'll go, oh yeah, and we're also making this a Volvo 240T.
Well, the other thing which came to mind, going back to your slot car company selections and I think you referred to it as a cash cow. I'm well informed, shall we say, or I've been informed that they can't make enough Ford Escort models. They just fly.
Truly?
They just fly off the shelf whenever they do them. So, no surprise that they'll probably work that mould, as you say.
Yeah, well, I think they need to work that. So that's got me instantly curious, thinking they have to just be selling in the UK then, aren't they? I mean, Americans aren't going to buy Ford Escorts. They're not stupid. Discuss. Germans might, because they had Ford Escorts, so some on the continent, but that surprises me. Because they always maintain that the BTCCCC cars don't make a buck, yet they still make them. And or they claim that they just don't sell outside of the UK.
Yeah, I think
but they still make them.
Well, I think as I understand it, the BTC cars are very popular amongst people who talk about slot cars and post about slot cars. So, but in terms of actual sales, and I think that's again we don't really understand the industry because we're not really part of it, despite our as a choice of cars. But I would imagine. I think
Maurizio and Simon need to listen to this podcast and quake in their boots, though, because they could
hire
plans.
They could hire us as consultants.
Yeah. Oh damn.
No.
They've got our top tips for free.
Top tips for free. That's just the taster. That's just a wheel. That's just to reel them in. Wait till they get my.
You mean the real genius you're keeping to yourself?
Well, yes.
Scott, we have to finish this soon. But I wanted you to say, Pedro, what caught your eye?
Pedro.
So that I could.
Pedro, what caught your eye?
Funny you should say that, Scott. Caught my eye, nearly burnt my retinas. Have you seen what Hobby Classic are doing?
Oh, tell me.
Only a 1/32 scale Hawaiian shirt. Who drives Hawaiian shirts? Who wore Hawaiian shirts?
Oh, Tom. Is it suitably unbuttoned?
It's Tom.
Is it suitably unbuttoned to reveal a manly, hairy chest?
You can't. From the photos I saw, you can't really see, but you can see there's a tash. So Tony Pond would be
perfect. I could use
approving.
He could drive my TR7 and pretend to be Tony Pond.
There you go. You could reuse that. You could just license the model for the driver figure. Yeah, they're going to do is it a 308? A Magnum PI version, and the guy is wearing a Hawaiian shirt, and for that I doff my cap.
Very good. But that's a road car. It's not even a race car. And you normally are very anti non-racing car.
I didn't say I'm going to buy it.
Okay, all right, sorry.
And I'm very anti TV things, but come on. A 1/32 Hawaiian shirt and a tash.
Had we kept in the TV category, do you want to know what I would have suggested?
No. But tell me anyway, because the listener in France, who's deeply offended by my pronunciation of Venturi, is going, oh, I wonder what he was going to choose.
Do you remember the New Avengers TV programme?
I certainly do, because I went on about Joanna Lumley, didn't I, earlier?
Do you remember Steed's Jag?
Oh, broad speed,
yeah.
Broad wheelbase.
The big wheel arches, yeah.
Yes.
See?
Now, somebody does a resin one, don't they?
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's the beauty. Well, I guess it's interesting. I've just had that thought, is that 3D printing is the new resin, isn't it? So,
Oh, don't talk to me about 3D printing. Scrubby behaviour. What was it? I said, I told you that my mother had one of her famous phrases was to a man with a 3D printer, the whole world looks like a .stl file. And that's a genuine quote from my mother. They just print anything. They just look for things to print. Oh,
well, I would.
That bottle hasn't got a lid. I'll 3D print that overnight. That won't take much energy.
I would. But these things are not cheap, so I would imagine if you've if you've invested in a 3D printer, you want to use it as much as possible. No.
Oh, I need a pencil. I know. I'll print one overnight. A 3D printed broad speed Jag. Yeah, no. But if you're going to issue a writ and make my company produce a TV and movie car, a broad speed would be a good one. But it seems like you're beating us to that one.
Well,
yeah,
that's competition. You see, as you pointed out, if this was reality, we would be rivals.
We'd be head to head. Is that car the same as the one that actually raced, the track one?
Oh, I guess it's probably a relative in some respect, at least the body kit.
It's got to be,
yeah, but I don't know the details. I think
they were fabulous pieces. Did you see? We're running hideously over time now, but did you see that Harry Metcalfe? That Harry Metcalfe. Sorry. Keep it together. Come on, keep it together. Don't start me off.
Harry Metcalfe.
I can cut this out. Harry Metcalfe. He spent something like 50 grand doing up a 5 grand bought off eBay. I think that's the story. I might be changing it slightly. What are they called? What are they called?
I don't know.
XJC?
Oh yeah, the
coupe.
The coupe.
Yeah, and he spent 24 grand just on having the engine rebuilt. But they did a stunning job, a simply stunning job, and the end result is a fantastic car, which is probably worth about 10 grand. But
oh well, if you check how many YouTube views he's got, you can probably tell how profitable it is to make YouTube videos.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
So, yeah, Harry Metcalfe. Yeah, sorry.
Don't. Come on, we're better than this.
Do it up. Okay, right. Well, I'm sure we're going to edit this better than we've just done. So,
I am so tempted just to leave that exactly as it is. You're shaking your head. But
I know, I'm shaking it in despair that I know you're going to do that. Anyway.
I'll do 2 versions. I'll send you a version that's got it all edited out, and you'll go, yeah, that's fine. And then I'll actually release the one that's got us creasing up.
Lovely person. And there was me going to buy you a Volvo for your birthday. So, thank you for this. I say that every time, probably more so than this one. I hope you've enjoyed that. Hope you've had a think, well, if I ran a slot car company, this is what I'd make. Write to Carrera and Scalextrics and tell them they love having public feedback. Don't write to us. Because but anyway, it's all good fun, and that's what slot cars are all about. So, Pedro, do you want to say goodbye?
Goodbye.
And I'll say goodbye. And remember, if you want to go faster, turn up the voltage. That's really bad waffle.
It's not. It wasn't really bad waffle. It was waffle.
It's waffle. Okay. Okay. So.
Pick it up.